Oh, really?
Hey, what's up, Coach Sands? How you doing today?
Hello, everybody. Really well, thank you. Looking forward to the long weekend.
You and me both, milady. Between you and me, I could do with the downtime. Could do with a little bit of a break.
Very much so.
How's the week been treating you?
Not gonna lie, it's been busy. It's been super busy. And it hasn't come to an end yet. We've still got a day and a half left. But yeah, good, all good, manageable.
Yeah, how you been doing with the massive 25% promotion we got going on right now? I've been calling people up, trying to sign people up. Like, this is such a massive opportunity, and it's crazy. Like, we are not offering this kind of promotion again anytime soon. So for those of you watching, if you have not signed up yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, because time is a ticking, because that promotion ends today.
Absolutely, yeah. Really, really good deal for the first month.
So if you guys are in the building, let us know. Hit us up in the comments section of this stream. Say what's up. Say hi. We got Pat Governor in the building. Like she's always around. Like Pat Governor is one of those like I don't know if she's like a major Jeff fan or a major me fan, but every time I'm here, she's always in the building.
Oh, lovely. Hi, Pat.
Okay, let me just. Everyone knows by now my internet is always a little slower. So it's going to take 2 seconds just to load everything up. But keep them coming, guys. And if you have any questions during the stream, let us know. Pop them in the comments section, and we will, well, Coach Sands is going to answer the bulk of the questions here, because we're trying to get to know you here. So
I'm a little nervous, actually. I'm not going to lie again.
It's chill. The Jeff community is really cool. They don't tend to pry too much.
Okay.
So tell me, Sands, like what did you do just before joining Jeff? What are you a part of?
Okay, so I'm a dietitian, and yeah, I've had quite a career up to now. I was actually a bit of a mature student when it came to studying. I'm going to go way back. We've got time, right?
We got time.
Okay, I started off studying microbiology and biochemistry way back when. And then I decided, it's just not for me. The bugs never spoke back, and it just was a bit boring in the lab. So then I did pharmacology for a year, honors degree in pharmacology. Also decided not necessarily for me. So I did a 2-year stint overseas, sort of traveling and working, which was fantastic. Grew up a lot in that time. And then came back and decided to study nutrition and dietetics. So that was fantastic. Yeah, I've never regretted that at all. Really love it. It changes all the time, which also keeps you on your feet, as I'm sure, everyone, if you look at the internet, it changes almost daily. But then I did, so that's all in Cape Town. I'm a Cape Town born and bred, so I did my comm service after studying up in Mpumalanga, at Evander Hospital. For those of you who know Evander, I stayed in Secunda, then came back and I worked as a dietitian at the Sports Science Institute in Newlands. I did that for 2 years. And then I joined Virgin Life Care at the time. They are no longer, but sort of an online health and wellness company. That was fantastic. I spent many, many years there in a whole lot of different positions, but also main position dietitian, offering nutrition advice. And then I joined Virgin Active after that, and also sort of very much a corporate work. That was until 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And then I decided to open up my own private practice from home. So with the kids sort of growing up, I wanted a bit more flexibility. And then joined Jeff. I'm a newbie. Joined Jeff in January this year. And it's been amazing, absolutely amazing. It's sort of, I think I was saying to you earlier as well, I just love the model of Jeff, sort of in dietitian practice. It's all about nutrition. But the fact that we can now combine the exercise with the nutrition, it's just, it's a complete win. So totally sold on the product, and so decided I wanted to join, and was lucky enough to be invited to join. So the rest is history.
That's pretty amazing, actually. It's pretty amazing that it was the product and how Jeff does things that attracted you into it, like that whole incorporating the nutrition side of things with the training and just fusing them together.
Absolutely. Yeah, you always know that you need those components, but when you're sort of in a dietitian practice and you're running a practice, it is about the nutrition. You say, yes, you need to exercise, but it's lovely to actually knit the two together, and it's so much more successful, to be honest. It's you see results a lot quicker, and the results stay for a lot quicker as well. It's a lot more sustainable.
And tell me, what was it about that dietetics that sort of grabbed you? Because like you tried a whole bunch of things before that didn't quite work out. What was it about dietetics that like sold you?
So initially, it was actually, I come from quite a sporting background, so I was very much sort of what grabbed my attention was the sports nutrition side of things. And I could just see sort of how powerful nutrition was in terms of eating, giving you energy. I hit the wall a few times running half marathons and things like that, so I could experience firsthand what bad nutrition resulted in. And so that's how the interest started. But then from there, I mean, just lifestyle nutrition in general, healthy eating, then had kids, and then it became about family and good nutrition for your kids and sort of what's practical. And it just grew from there.
That's pretty cool. So what was your sporting background?
Running. So I was a teeny tot. I think I was 6 when I started running. A bit of an overachiever very young, a little bit of burnout a bit later on, but still kept up the running. But as I'm sure that a lot of, I ran at varsity a little bit as well, but I'm sure as a lot of mums can confirm, is that after giving birth, everything changes. I've been unfortunately had a few niggles and injuries, glutes and hip and all of that. I'm sure everyone can actually relate. And so the other thing that I love about Jeff is just the fact that there's so much focus on the core strength. And I often say to sort of the clients on my team as well, is that we need to work on that first. Then slowly start the running. From personal experience, I can see otherwise you go up, down in terms of injuries. And things do change after giving birth, definitely. So you've got to be a lot more careful.
What kind of distances were you running? Were you like road running, marathons?
No, so I was sort of 800 and 1500 meters. And then a bit later on, I did cross country as well. I did a bit of biathlon, but that was biathlon under 11. So I was a teeny tot. The running was fantastic. I'd go to SA champs and beat all the boys at that age, because I think we're on a par, girls and boys, when you're under 11. But the swimming, not so much. I didn't get that swimming gene.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I know you have two little ones. Have they taken after you? Are they quite sporty as well?
Yes, especially the older one, Katie. So they're not so little anymore, but they'll always be my newborns. My oldest, Kate, she's turning 11 on Saturday, and then Sarah, she's just turned 9, so it's just under 2 years gap. They both love being active. Katie seems to have taken on the running gene a little bit. She really enjoys that. Sarah loves swimming, but not when the water's cold. So that cuts out school swimming quite a bit. She likes our pool in summer. But they love to be active. We love going for hikes as a family as well. But also, I mean, at this age, I was running in huge races, training almost twice a day, and we're not taking that approach with the girls, hoping that they can sort of sustain their sports a little bit longer. So not as hardcore as mummy at this age.
I suppose it's a value of hindsight. You're like they get to skip a lot of the mistakes that you made along your journey.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's benefits absolutely to what I did as well. I think set a good foundation, but there's definitely learnings as well.
That's brilliant. So tell me, what do you do? Like, do you still run now, even despite your injuries, or like, what do you do for your general fitness?
Yes, so doing a lot of core fitness, to be honest, and then I'm combining that with the running. But nowadays, I mean, it goes against every grain in my body. But when I run, for now, to prevent injuries, I do sort of more of a run-walk approach. And I find that really works well. So you can give it your all when you're running, but then you recover. You don't, you let everything recover in between. I'm not doing half marathons or anything, sort of maximum 10Ks, and I just find that really works, and it prevents the injuries, and it makes it enjoyable. And it's de-stress time. It's mummy time.
I was telling my girlfriend the other day, Mandy. She was telling me how one of these days you should take me to the gym with you, because we used to train together years ago when we first started dating. And she's like, oh no, I miss those days. And I was telling her I kind of miss it, but I don't. And she's like, why? I'm like, it's kind of like me time. I'm gonna go there and just do my thing by myself and be my own person for a bit. And when I come back, then you can have my attention again.
Love it. I'm sure that went down well.
Listen, I will admit, I can be a bit of a butthole to her sometimes, but bless her soul, she takes it well.
Oh, lovely. Well done, Manny.
And you with your husband, like what's the dynamic between you two?
Oh no, so we've been together forever. We knew each other for 11 years before we got married, so it feels like we literally have been sort of half a lifetime of time together. But yeah, I mean, we both also have our own time. We love spending time together. It becomes more tricky with kids, but we're quite lucky to have his mom staying in a granny flat on the property, so that helps a huge amount. So if we want to go for a run together, we can actually do that now, which is fantastic. But yeah, it works well. Definitely works well having granny on site. Lots of advantages. Yeah.
I can definitely imagine. I know my mom is putting pressure on me and Mandy. I remember actually you might be able to speak to this because you guys were together for, like you say, 11 years before you got married.
Before we got married, yeah.
Like me and Mandy have been
together. We
together.
knew each other.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because me and Mandy have been dating now 8 and a bit years. And now I found when I was growing up, my mom and parents were always like, listen, if you ever bring a kid home, you are on your own. Like, don't do it. It has to be marriage first and the whole works. And then like a switch, suddenly you reach an age where your parents are like, so when are you giving us grandkids? I was like, sorry. What about the whole marriage thing? It's like, oh man, you can skip that. It's not even a thing these days. We just want grandkids.
She's getting desperate, Ed. She's getting desperate.
Shame, man. I'm just not budging. I'm not ready. I can't do what you do.
No, you got to be ready. It's very much a life change, and yeah, everything changes, but it's so worth it. Wouldn't do it any other way.
How do you feel about balancing, work life, your own health and fitness, raising a family? Like, how do you find you balance it all?
Very challenging. To be really, really challenging, and I've actually just gone through my own personal journey again, joining Jeff, because I was finding that, I actually was neglecting. It was myself in the beginning. Then I sorted that one out. But then the kids as well. I mean, also having a private practice. I used to work late at night when they're in bed, and I'd sort of have time in the afternoon to work on homework and all of that. And that was just falling apart. So I've actually scheduled time so that we can do a little bit of homework after school, and then I pick up again with my clients in the afternoon, evening, and that's working really well. But it's a challenge. It really is, because I don't know how many times they've been knocking on the door and sending messages under the door saying, Mom, can I do this? Mom, can I do that? Or Mom, are you free? Or just knock, 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 knock. So yeah, it's been a challenge for everybody, something different to get used to. But I think it's also a good lesson for them as well, that they realize that Mum and Dad have to work, that boundaries have to be set. And yeah, I think it's a very good life lesson.
Well, that's brilliant. I find that's something. Do you find that's something your clients can relate to? Seeing as they're busy professionals, you're a busy professional. Do you find that's like a nice little touch point when you guys can come to common ground?
Absolutely, and I think we all can very much understand, and we're all in the same boat a lot of the time. And my big thing, and because I'm living it as well, is that I have to often say to my clients, you know what, you had a bad day, things fell apart, it's okay. We all have those, and we really do all have those days. And I think the important thing, and I've learned this as well, is that you kind of like just have to almost laugh it off. Yeah, kids got sick, everything happened all at once. You didn't get to the shops, or you didn't do this, or suddenly now the day is a lot longer. Daddy had a meeting as well, so there's no one to look after the kids. Whatever the case is, in the evenings, you've just got to deal with it, and it will get better, and everyone knows it will. And you can't sort of build baggage, and you can't let it grow, because then it will become damaging. And I think I've learned to just give myself a bit of slack and just laugh it off sometimes as well. You're just like, okay, you know what? Wow, I was dealt a lot today, but let's just move on. And some days you'll cry because it's just too much, but you've just got to cut yourself some slack, and you've got to say, that's life, and pick up things again the next day. And I think a lot of the time, and especially in the first sort of month on the program, the pressure to perform is so great, and it's pressure from within. And I think we can all relate to that, is that, oh my goodness, so I didn't do that session. Yes, never mind the fact that I did all of this in the day. And then you think, well, that's a failure, so let me just, let's forget about it. Things clearly aren't working. I can't manage this. And you need to get out of that way of thinking. It might be one day, it might be 2 days, it might be a week. But the important thing is that you're able to pick yourself up and continue where you left off.
That's so true. I had, funny enough, I had a client like 3 days ago tell me she feels like she's failing because she's on the one-on-one program, but like every so often there'll be like a little crisis she has to manage, or her kids are sick, and she's like, oh, I didn't get a good supper in, or I missed my session. I feel like I'm failing. And sometimes you have to remind, like, dude, like where you are now versus where you were a month ago before you started are two very drastic and different situations. Like now, even if you're not getting to 3 out of 3 or 3 healthy meals, you're getting 2 out of 3, whereas before you were getting like 1 if you were lucky. Yeah. You're training 3 or 4 days a week. Yes, it's not the 5 we want, but you went from nothing to 3 days a week.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's an improvement.
Yes, absolutely. And I think people often compare themselves to the Jones as well. I mean, I remember one of the first jet classes I did, there was a woman who was, and I'm sure you know who I'm speaking about, but 6 months after giving birth. And I started with the core exercise. I'm like, how can she do that? And I just felt, very inadequate. And I often use that example with my clients as well, is that, you know what, you've got to compete with yourself, and you've got to be realistic. And I think that's so important. And you also got to realize at the end of the day, and I think it'd be great if everyone can sort of take 5, 10, 15 minutes once the kids are in bed at the end of the day before you fall asleep, and just reflect on what you actually achieved in the day. Might not have been necessarily all good nutrition, might not have been an exercise session, but hey, you probably did incredibly at work. You probably helped maybe somebody, you looked after your kids. You need to actually give credit where credit is due. And it might not always be on the nutrition and exercise side, but there's other factors in life that you've got to give yourself credit for. And I think that's also such a huge learning that I've gone through as well, is that, don't try and be superwoman. It's not really possible at all. We've all tried, I think, but it's not possible. And give yourself credit where it's due.
Yeah, I find I like describing it as like you everyone's running their own race, and you can't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 25. It's like you're in completely different spots, different circumstances. Focus on what you're doing and focus on making the best from your situation, and start small and build forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's win-win.
Win-win. So tell me, like, in your professional experience, what's some of the first mistakes that most people do within nutrition, either when they're trying to work towards a goal or just in general? Like, what are some of the obvious things you normally pick up?
Okay, so the biggest one that always springs up is that people don't eat enough. And it's the weirdest thing, but people feel that they need to punish themselves when they change their eating habits. If they're wanting to lose weight, they're wanting to trim down a little bit, slim down a little bit, they feel that they must punish themselves by not eating a lot of food. And that is a huge mindset change. And in my private practice, I mean, that would be sort of 80% of clients. It's the first few weeks. What we try and do is convince them that they need to eat more food. And it's the types of foods, it's combinations of foods that counts. And I think that is a huge mindset for everybody. And the other thing is being fixated on weight. And for me as well, I mean, if I could burn all the scales, I probably would. It's a bit dramatic. but you know what I'm trying to say, is that those scales have far too much power. They really do. They can, like this morning even, I had a client, and I hope she doesn't mind me using her as an example. I won't mention any names, but she has had dramatic body shape changes in 1 month, like dramatic. We're not going to share pictures yet. I'm sure one day we will, but it's incredible. But she has lost 0.3 kilograms. So now I think if we didn't have those pictures and we just had the 0.3 kilograms and we were basing it all on weight, wow, we'd all be depressed. I'd be depressed as well. But when you have a look at those pictures, she is somebody who picks up muscle really nicely. So she's looking toned already. She's lost centimeters, but the weight is not reflecting that. And I just think if we can do nothing else to educate on the fact that it's not about the weight, it's about the change in shape, it's about the centimeters. And as a dietitian, I hate the word scale and weight and diet. It's not ideal. I wish we could change our professional name.
That's actually, I can think of quite a few clients I've had very similar experiences too. And it's like how I like to explain it is, your weight on the scale, the only information we have is how hard gravity is pulling on you. That's all that is telling us.
Yeah.
It says nothing but your body composition, your hydration levels. It speaks to none of that.
Yeah. I mean, there's huge changes and often, so you'll see somebody after in private practice as well, they come back after 2 weeks, after a month, and the first questions I ask, the first thing they want to do is jump on the scale, but we don't do that. The first questions that I would have asked would be, how are you feeling? Energy levels? How's the digestive system working for you? And those are normally like fantastic. Just by eating healthier, eating more clean, all of those things change. And those are huge wins. Think back to how you were feeling before you started eating like that, before you started exercising. And we need to focus on those things because those are life-changing. I mean, the quality of life the change in quality of life is amazing. But even the body shape, the changes, it's incredible. You lose centimeters, you're burning fat, but it's not always going to reflect on the scale. It really isn't. And we need to change that mindset. Yeah.
To jump on a different tangent, seeing as you're a dietitian, nutrition is your thing, but we're going into a little bit of an Easter break now. What are some of your favorite little treats to enjoy?
Okay, so my vice is chocolate. Let's just put it out there. If there's any kind of chocolate in the house, I typically will hunt it down, and often whilst working on eating plans. It's bad. I'm not proud of it, but that's the reality. So what we do is we don't store a lot of chocolate in the house because we know Mum will just hunt it down. But yes, Easter for me, there's special occasions. Obviously don't go overboard, but I can tell you I will be eating a fair amount of chocolate, and there's a birthday party on the Saturday as well, so there'll be some cake too. But I think it's all about moderation, and don't ever deprive yourself. I mean, I don't recommend making yourself sick by eating too many Easter eggs or too much cake, but if you're in a point where 80% of the time you're eating the good stuff, you can really afford to treat yourself 20% of the time to food that's not going to give you nutritional value, but boys are going to give you good endorphins, feel-good hormones, that often, I think, outweigh the negative effects of not having good nutrition. So as long as it's an 80-20% breakdown, it's absolutely fine. Whatever your vice is, I'm sure there's quite a few can relate to the chocolate as well. Definitely enjoy. And yes, the long weekend is there for you to actually relax a little bit, chill a little bit, socialize a little bit, and treat yourself a little bit. Without going totally overboard. But I find so many of my clients, they've found as well that when they're eating so clean during the week and they do have some pizza or they have whatever they decide to treat themselves with on the weekend, they actually feel So the message there is don't go overboard. Have a little bit, but your body will guide you. You just need to listen.
I was telling a couple clients of mine actually, because I had a family reunion about a week or two back, and my aunt went all out. Like there was a plethora of food. Like she got one of the cakes she got was, I'm not exaggerating, the size of a door. Like we measured it. It was the size of a door, and that was not the only cake there. So there was like a mountain of food. And I'm used to like it was a fair amount of people, but like there was leftovers. Like we couldn't finish the food. So now I'm used to having like an iron stomach. Like I can pack food away normally. And I found like now, after eating clean for so long, because I've been trying to drop body weight for a new category in my sport. So I've been eating clean for quite some time. I find going back to eating like that, my stomach was a wreck the next day. Like the cramping, the bloating. I was like, you know what? It's like, it wasn't worth it. Like I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. Or you do it, but you'll be sensible about it. You possibly will just have a little slice, and that. Like
I'm not going ham again.
Portion control is everything. I think we all know that. You can often get away with a little bit, but then you just go slightly overboard, and that's when you experience the nasty side effects.
It's all moderation.
Completely.
But let's see if we have any questions in the comment section.
Oh,
if you guys say again.
Hot cross buns from Pat.
I no joke. I am planning on, I have this thing where I take a hot cross bun, I cut a slit in the middle, I shove a marshmallow Easter egg in there, and I either microwave it or I toast it. It's
Love it.
amazing.
Love it. The secret's out. It doesn't appeal to
That
me anyway. I
is,
don't like marshmallows, but yeah, maybe someone else wants to try that.
I'm waiting for Friday. Like I was like, I'm gonna stay clean this whole week, but Friday evening, it's me and that concoction.
Love it.
Okay, let's see. Nancy Close is saying, "Oh my gosh, my one-on-one has really taught me so much. I used to eat 7 fruit a day and not much water. Now I'm drinking 2.5 liters of water, reduced my intake of fruit, and the fact that I'm never hungry because I never knew that for my breakfast I needed to incorporate protein, fruit, fat, and non-starch wherever I find that fat is what carries me through. I do feel much better. It's only been 2.5 weeks, but I can see a difference." Can you speak to the whole getting a variety of macronutrients in?
It's incredible. It's lovely to hear.
Can you speak to that? I find a lot of people, especially if they're going to go on a diet, it's like, oh, I have to cut out carbs, or I have to cut out fat. Like, what's your thoughts and approach on that?
The reality is everybody's different. And I know it sounds cliche, but one size does not fit all. And that is the reality. So different people, even sort of when you come to vegetarian eating versus low carb versus low fat, you really need to know the individual and understand the individual and how they operate. I've had quite a few people inquire about vegetarian eating or vegan eating. And my response is typically, if you've got issues with IBS or potential bloating issues or stomach issues, you actually want to, if possible, if it depends what the reason is for wanting to move to vegetarian or vegan, but I wouldn't recommend it, purely because the amount of fiber and the volume of food that you need to eat in order to meet your protein requirements for the amount of exercise that you're doing is huge. And as you all know, if anybody suffers from IBS, too much fiber is not a good thing. So I would always try and say, even if it's the case of including sort of dairy and fish as options, as protein options as well, even maybe a plant-based protein powder in that situation as well. But you've got to be that's just an example of where one size can definitely not fit all. Whereas somebody else who's got maybe a stomach of steel like you or like you used to have, they could possibly handle anything that comes their way, to be honest. And there it's about what's enjoyable and what's sustainable and what fits in with the rest of the family or your partner. I mean, you have to consider that. It's not a case of if you part of the family and the one member of the family, say dad, wants to eat low carb or banting, and the rest of the family with the kids are eating sort of a standard Mediterranean type diet, it's not going to last. And if it's not going to last, don't waste your time. Because every single time you change the way you eat, you are actually sort of changing your metabolism a little bit every time. And over a long period of time, your body will always err on the side of caution, which is to slow your metabolism down, because maybe it doesn't know that you may be doing intermittent fasting. And maybe for it's a case of there's no food available. So your body will always err on the side of caution, and it will slow metabolism down so that it can survive on just the bare minimum of food. And it's an incredible adaptation, and thank goodness for that adaptation. In certain countries where there literally isn't enough food, the body adapts that way, and then you're able to survive for a lot longer. But where there is plentiful food, to keep on changing the way you're eating, you're kind of like messing up your metabolism over time. So what I'm trying to say there in a very long-winded way is that choose something that's practical, that's sustainable, that's enjoyable, and stick to that way of eating. And try not change the way you eat. Don't try and change and sort of experiment with every single new dietary strategy that gets put on the market. You're actually shooting yourself in the foot a little bit by doing that. So yeah, if you can stick to one way of eating and it's practical and you can carry on doing it forever, then it's a win. But yeah, that's another thing to consider when deciding what kind of eating habit will suit you. You've got to consider what your lifestyle is like as well. But yeah, I hope that answered your question in a roundabout way.
That was actually perfect. I could not have phrased that any better myself. Okay. Last question. Can you give Laura any suggestions on a legal treat? Is there something like that? This would be if you're really craving something during your 5 days on the plan.
Okay. So So my go-to, you can see I don't have to think long about this, would be dark chocolate. So dark chocolate, much lower in the sugar than your regular milk chocolates. You're also not going to, because it's not as moreish as milk chocolate, you're not going to necessarily overdose, but try and go as high percentage dark chocolate as you can go. And yes, absolutely, that's a fantastic treat. If you can stick to one block, good luck. I struggle a little bit, so I have to go very high percentage dark chocolate. But that would be a relatively healthy treat food to have. I think you've just got to watch the portions. So don't buy in bulk and save and keep them there for in case, because it's not always going to work. But what I would say is go out and buy a little thing of dark chocolate so that you're not going to overdose. And I always say that don't stockpile. So don't plan and say, okay, well, I'm going to keep the chocolate there just in case I feel like it during the week, because I promise you're going to feel like it every single day. So always just go buy enough for one sitting, and then restock the next week when you need another treat.
That was actually my strategy for a very long time. Is I planned, for me it was either pineapple with a little bit of cinnamon, or it was dark chocolate, and I would like gravitate between the two. Okay. But if it was dark chocolate, I would buy literally like those single lid serving ones. And I'm like, I'm going to walk to the store, last thing in the day, grab one, come back, have that. Store's closed now and it's done. And then the next day, if I want another one, I have to walk to the store, grab a single one, come back.
Love it. Perfect. The other thing as well that I find works, maybe I'm just a bit crazy, but if you're somebody who likes to snack late at night when you're working on eating plans, for example, just giving that as an example, but if you are somebody who naturally just likes to snack just because that's what you're doing, you're staying up late and you just feel like you want to do something, I would recommend try to brush your teeth after dinner. It sounds silly, but I know I don't want to brush my teeth twice. It's just too much like hard work with the flossing and everything that goes afterwards. So it's actually such a good deterrent to prevent yourself from snacking. So if you are somebody who struggles with that, either go to bed early, but that's not always practical, but otherwise brush your teeth. Sort of that symbolizes the end of the eating day.
I find a really strong mouthwash too. It leaves that little taste in your mouth, and after that, it's like anything I eat is going to taste disgusting anyway. So it's not worth it.
Love it.
But Coach Sands, that is our time together. Thank you so much for this. It was actually really nice to get to hear your thoughts on a couple of the nutritional side of things. You actually taught me a thing or two. So thank you again. Would love to have you back on the show. Yeah,
it was absolutely awesome. Went so quickly. Wow. Flew by. But yeah, lovely chatting to you.
Time flies when you're having fun. If you guys have any questions that we didn't get to, leave them in the comment section down below. Me and Coach Sands are going to hop on there and make sure we answer everything. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Cheers, guys.